How you been, bro?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Been on a bit of an adventure, I think, since I seen you. Well, when did we first link up?
I'd say sometime in the summer.
Summer? Yeah. Man, I think I'm Montrealer now. I think I switched sides to Montreal. The vibes are nice out here and it looks interesting to me. I still want to be in Toronto regularly. I still go to Toronto like every week pretty much because of that development, because of the infrastructure that exists there. I don't see it existing here in the same capacity yet, you know? And I think that that's cool because there was a time that I do remember where it wasn't all there for Toronto. And there were some things happening, some bubblings in the community and bubblings in the culture that resemble a lot of what I'm seeing in Montreal today. So it's like, I think that it kind of makes sense that there should be some cultural or artistic shift in focus as a nation to Montreal in this time because of the development that we've already had in Toronto. And it's only like to be, I think, I don't think there's another city like Toronto for creatives in Canada. The closest to it would have to be, I think, Montreal. And I think that to lean into that for the purpose of development is probably a good idea at this time. And you notice these things, you know what I'm saying? Like these cultural similarities. When you're culturally tuned to these things, you pick up on them easily. You know what I'm saying? And that's an advantage I feel like we have in Toronto, that like we're culturally stimulated by so many positive experiences with different cultures that like it's weird as fuck for us to see people that are racist. Like it's really weird, bro. We step on all of them. Like, so how are you actually actively racist in public? Like you're not trying to get stepped on now. Like anybody will do it to you. Or your Bangladeshi friend will stomp a man for saying nigger. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's normal for us. But once we leave Toronto, we see that it's like in New York, I know it's not normal for them. You know, even in Montreal, I see people have slight aversions more than we have, you know, and everybody's proud of their own heritage and their own culture in Toronto. From my experience, most people are proud of their shit. Like, it doesn't matter where they're from or what the political presentation of their people are. They'll show you what they're proud of their culture every time. So we embrace that, you know what I'm saying? People use different phrasings, different tones, different motion, body language, all that in different cultures to express respect. If you can understand that it varies from culture to culture, then you can learn it from culture to culture. And that's an advantage, I think. You know what I'm saying? Too many times I've gotten jobs that people will say, oh, people will stush up their face and say like, oh, these guys are racist or they're this, that, and the third. You just don't understand the culture. And if you could download that, then the door opens up and you're like, I didn't get that experience. You know, they just don't treat me like that. It happens over and over and over and over again in my life. So I feel like it must come from somewhere. And I think part of it has to be attributed to my environment and the way in which I was raised. And so I see that like, yeah, it's got to be an advantage. It's helped me out a lot in my life, man. I call myself Kufi, you know, I'm Kufi's world. Because when I was a kid, like I used to wear a kufi to school. My parents were the ones who told me to do that. You know what I'm saying? To present myself in this particular way. This cultural identity that didn't exist in the generation before me. Like literally my cousins don't do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only one doing, I'm the eldest of my siblings. So it's like, I'm the first one that you're showing these new cultural experiences to. I'm the first one downloading these brand new cultural experiences. And not just that, projecting it as my own identity. Because it's not like I'm just downloading these cultural experiences as understandings of other people's culture. This is who I am. You know what I'm saying? And in that early stages of my development, and I had a lot of like, it was hard for me to understand because like, again, like I'm saying, my cousins don't do this. You know what I'm saying? My cousins present themselves differently. It's like, I started to understand that however I project myself, I'm kind of projecting for an entire generation, an entire like experience of people. I used to think as a kid that there's a lot of people like me that have had these experiences where their parents are either new to this culture in some way or another, and they're projecting a brand new cultural experience that differs from their parents and every other generation before them in their own life. And I was like, in that regard, some of the cultural traditions and so on, matters of dress, whether or not we tattoo, things like that are up to me to decide. So it's important for me to understand others so that I can understand what the hell I'm doing myself. My family's like pretty Americanized, you know what I'm saying? We're from the West Indies, and my mom's from Canada. She grew up in Boston, so it is what it is, you know? I'm making shortbread cookies. That's some Christmas shit. You feel me? I don't know no better though. I'm making shortbread cookies. And I accidentally put green food coloring in the shit. It looked cool to me. So we went with it. And my mom supported it. Did that 1 year. The next year, my cousins pulled up, la-di-da-di-da. They had the green ass cookies and shit. And it was cool. Everybody was like, oh my God, we love the cookies. So I did it again the next year and the next year. And then I'm like, oh, we need green cookies for Eid. I just made that shit up. And when I realized I just made up a tradition for my family's culture. My mom makes something my mom makes Jamaican bun, you know, the ones that Jamaicans make for Easter. She does that for Eid every year. I thought the bun was for Eid until I took in that people are doing it for Easter. You get what I'm saying? So we're just reappropriating and reassociating cultural experiences ourselves. That's how I grew up. So for me, it's like I can make it whatever I want. It's always been whatever I want. When I started getting tattoos, my parents weren't fucking with it because they were like, it's un-Islamic. But I'm like, Pops, you know, I went to the mosque one time with my dad, and there's some brothers from they're from North Africa. They might have been like from Tunisia or somewhere like that, Morocco, and they had tattoos, specific tattoos, but they had tats. I was like, Pops, they're Muslim, they have tattoos. It's like, that's their culture. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's okay if it's their culture. He's like, yeah. Well, Lil Wayne got tattoos, he's my culture. What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? So rebel, I don't know if I'm rebelling or not. I'm just being, I think. It's a much freer feeling to think to myself, I'm just being. I make mistakes all the time. Sometimes I miss the mark, but I'm not trying to rebel. I'm just being. I'm just trying to be. I think it's important that after a certain level of understanding, we teach people how we want to be treated. I felt a way when I was a kid. I was like, bro, I'm looking for understanding. I'm looking for expression. And I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like they understood me. As I got older, I started feeling like it's important for me to show them how I understand them, how I can be the one to bring the openness to the table, you know? So I try and be as open, supportive, honest with my parents as possible, especially now I am a parent. I don't think there's anything to we're really, really cool, me and my pops now. You know what I'm saying? We're really cool now because I matured into the understanding where he doesn't have to understand everything. It's perfectly fine. Now the things that I better understand, I can share them. Once I fully understand this thing, I can begin to share it with you. If I don't fully understand it, and you don't fully understand it, then of course we're gonna butt heads on it. A family member said to me that we're only in control of, or we only need to control 3 feet or 3 foot radius around ourselves. Said this to me when I was in my early 20s. And it really stuck with me. Because I feel like it's so easy to get caught up with all the things that you actually have no control over. And once you realize that you can be in control of like this space right here, this right here is all I gotta control. It looks good to me right now. I'm good. I'm stabilized. I understand everything is in here. I don't feel any threat. Yeah, I'm peaceful. You know, and then of course, as that grows, as you grow in dominion over that space, you learn to make decisions that can impact and control the 3 feet around that, and so on and so forth, so that you start to, you know, it chooses you, you choose it, and so on and so forth. You have a relationship with the world and with the universe that is gonna respect your 3-foot radius. You know, I do shit, I'll say things and it'll happen that there's no rhyme or reason. There's no connection between the moment that I'm saying it and why I'm saying it, and it happens. You know, I'll be in situations that like, it could be something that happened to you or something that you're doing that it's like, it doesn't, the odds of it panning out like this are slim to none. And it's going to pan out in my favor. You know, I have enough faith to believe that usually if something doesn't go in the way that I'm expecting it to go, it's because something better is about to happen. And I fully believe that because I'm not a lazy person. I'm not an unambitious person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an unintelligent person. I don't think that I'm overly confident or like, you know, so I believe it should be good until the end. And if it's the end, then it's fair too. People go, you know, I'm not so big on like, other people's interpretations of God. I'm not big on that. I don't necessarily like how that always plays out. But I've also noticed that like, I think that I do believe in God a lot, you know? And in the Quran, it talks about the phrasing is Sirat al-Mustaqim, and talk about like the straight path. And I find that like, especially you say you're outside a bit, it really matters if you like, you know, if you're off-road, having a GPS matters so much more. You know what I'm saying? When you're not on a path that is quite obviously clear exactly which direction you're going all the time, if you come off the path for a second, having the GPS is good regardless. But if you come off the path, you really, really need it. You don't want to be all the way in the bushes with no damn GPS. That's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're aware that there is a map. That's even more messed up. So it's always been like, for me, I think the path we talk about is like, I always try and stay on my course, try not to get too distracted. If I find that I'm getting distracted in anything, I try and redirect myself back to what it is that I'm focused. I'll get frustrated with myself. I'll be disappointed in myself otherwise, you know? I think it's like a rich value to have direction. We can't even remember with all the necessity you've had to learn math and English and the street names and their intersections and so on and so forth, mortgage information and tax laws that are important to us as adults. None of that is about our humanity. None of that is about our godliness. And that is the richness that children have. I think it's kind of funny that they come into this world where their muscles are not strong enough yet to form language. Like your tongue has to strengthen itself for weeks just so you can say a letter. Like, you know, your arms are not strong enough for you to lift. Your legs are not strong enough for you to walk. Imagine if they could show us in the moment what it is. Like, I feel like people race to earth with messages. Like they race down here. And you get here and you're like, okay, just gotta figure out how to tell them. It's the trippiest experience you'll ever have in your life is becoming a parent. It's like you just entered a fucking ever warp, like infinity loop in time. Imagine that. Imagine you for a moment are like receiving you entering the world. Imagine just like the concept of that. You entered the world. And then you close the loop for a second by receiving somebody entering the world. whether they live another moment or 100 years and bring in offspring of their own, there's one closed loop. You just added a dot on the family tree. You just added another layer to this experience of humanity for forever. It's crazy. In the moment that I became a father, I remember asking my daughter to teach me as much as she could remember, because I thought to myself how interesting it is that I'm as close to this person that is so much closer to God than I can remember being, in the purest of forms. Like, it's the purest person I ever met was the person I met a second after they were born. You know what I'm saying? I never met anybody else that early in life, thus far. Okay? And I remember asking her to show me, things. Like, I got you, I'll protect you, and I'll teach you the language, and I'll teach you how to count, and teach you all the things of the world that I can, because that's the things that I've learned. But I think children teach us of humanity. Children teach us of the heavens, bro. Children teach us of God. A lot of dudes, they say a lot of people like to talk about the fact or the idea that they don't believe in love. And it's kind of crazy. It's impossible for me to align with that as a father. It's absolutely impossible for me to understand what you're saying as a father. I can't get it. I feel like, you know what? You'll grow to that, inshallah. Because there's no way that we can at all, any of us, be here. The plants get air and water and love doesn't exist. It's just not real. Like, sorry to say. And Indigo's taught me that reality, there's infinite love in this world. You know what I'm saying? I still have infinite hope for my child. And for that hope for my child, I have hope for all the children. I literally pray for other children that I've never even met, because I know that they share space with my daughter. If I'm so selfish enough to only think about my own child, I have to think about the children that she's going to grow up to be adults with. I love those youths, bro. I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are. If they ever come into my world, I just want to love them up so that they can be great men, because we need more great men. We need more great women. We need more humans to be aspiring to be actually good people, bro. Because the rest of this shit is whack, man. And as a parent, you know that, bro. When you see some shit, it's cool for us as adults. It's entertaining briefly, but ultimately it's whack. You know damn well you don't want this shit for your kids, bro. It's trash. As an adult, as a parent, as a father, you can say that. This shit is trash, bro. I see a lot of nonsense. It's not cool, bro. Because I can't play that for my daughter. I can't show that to my kid. Even some of my own behaviors I've had to fix up on, because what about if this reaches the consciousness of my child, bro? And the message that she came to deliver me is either affected by this because it's like a malignant growth, some type of cancer for her message, and hurts her, or prevents her from wanting to share it with me because I look like I'm too ignorant to receive it. It's whack. You know what I'm saying? So I'm appreciative of that. I'm really appreciative of that. And I hope that I can grow fast enough for her. That's it.